What's up, everybody? Welcome to this episode of the B3 podcast. It's just your host, Brett. I fucking forgot that last time. Jesus. Multiple injuries. Matt's here. Chris is not. Tanner is still not here.
Thank God.
He probably listens. His feelings just get like super hurt. It probably deflates.
He would
his
have
head.
to have feelings first to get hurt.
It probably deflates his head.
No, that's structurally solid.
We got our show partners, Elite Nutrition. Check them out at elitenutritionomaha.com. Use code B3 at checkout for 10% off, or go to the store in Omaha or Lincoln and yell B3.
Get a free shaker.
You also have Rosewood Block. They make the best cutting boards in barbecue, fully customizable. If you're watching us on the YouTubes, we have the flag board here, which I believe is also their brisketeer.
Yes.
We'll fit a giant brisket on there with no problems.
Up to, I've had a 22.5 pounder on there.
Yes.
No problem.
Worth the money, worth the wait.
Yep.
I'll maybe talk to them and find out when they're going to have their Christmas deadline for anybody that wants to order one and get it for Christmas.
I wonder if they'll ever venture out and use any other woods.
They use all kinds of woods.
I was use walnut, cherry, and maple.
No, they have that purple heartwood. They have all that shit. Or is it called purple heartwood?
Purple heart is like the purplish heart. And then
Yeah,
like a
they've had that on there.
Some stuff.
If anybody watches any of the most recent meat church videos, have you seen they made that giant stained glass one for him? No. It looks like a cow, but has a pig and a chicken inside of it, and they're painted.
I saw it in the background. I guess I didn't pay that much attention to
He's got it on the table, but then they showed on their Instagram page they were making it for him. Nice. So, but anyway, check them out, rosewoodblock.com. Use code B3 at checkout, which actually, this episode we're going to talk about some good barbecue gadgets, gizmos, who's it's, and what's it's to have.
Yep.
I think the basic one is first you need to have like a grill or a smoker. That's number one. But if you have a Weber like kettle, you can make that an indirect heat. If you don't know, now you know. But if you don't, if you separate your charcoal more to one side, you can put your wings or whatever you can throw like a little lump of wood in there.
Yep,
it's fine. You can make that into if you don't have, that's all you have, and maybe you don't have the money to get a smoker. Like, everybody right now funds are tight these days. But yeah, you can make that into a little smoker. It's not, you can say, whatever, blah, blah. It's not
I think if you want to go fancy, you can even get like the dividers. Like there's a metal piece that'll go down in between that'll actually cause like a hard divide.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen, who was that? Aaron Franklin did one, and he had it was like a rectangular grill, and he put like a log across the back of it. Oh. And then he had charcoal on the one side. Robert didn't all you want that wood. The wood doesn't have to be on fire. It just needs to simmer.
Yes.
That wood just has to sit there and kind of get warm, and it'll start smoking. But yeah, have some kind of smoker. Whether, like I said, you have a kettle with a divider, you have a pellet grill, whatever that might be, a Green Mountain, a Traeger. Pit Boss has been a lot of places now. Dude, I don't hate the Pit Boss. I use Derek's Pit Boss at his cabin. It's not bad.
Yep.
When it comes down to it, they all fucking start the pellets on fire. I think more you're just getting into your thickness of how much you want for your insulation. Because the shitty part is if it's a really thin one, you're just burning extra fuel to get that thing hot all the time, especially in the wintertime. Summer, not as bad. But a lot of them do so, which is another good gadget or gizmo. Insulated blanket. Traeger makes one that's actually fits on them. I'm sure the other ones do too. I'm sure Green Mountain does. I'm sure whoever does. If you get into like a Yoder, they're so fucking thick you don't need one.
Yeah, that's your 1/4-inch steel stuff, so you're pretty solid.
Yeah. I was at Helping You Barbecue, which anybody in Omaha, check them out if you haven't been there. And I was picking up that drum smoker Amber got me. And they had a smoker. He goes, go check out that smoker back there on the trailer.
Oh, it's a super fucking heavy lid, right?
Dude, I couldn't fucking open it. It took 2 hands. I was like, what is the point? I don't even understand what the point of that is. I don't know what brand it was.
Does it just have like a shitty counterweight? Because most of them have counterweights on the top to pop open.
I don't know what brand it is, and I love the guys at Helping You Barbecue, but I wouldn't buy that fucking smoker for any reason unless you gave it. And I don't even know if I'd want it if you gave it to me. Because I can't open it. I don't understand the point of that. Every time I've watched a ridiculous amount of barbecue videos and shows.
Yeah.
And I've never seen anybody with an offset smoker that can't open it with one hand.
Right, because they usually have like those big,
a lot of times it's like
it's
like a weird height thing a lot of times once they get them up. But yeah, that was complete fucking nonsense. But yeah, so no matter what you have some kind of smoker. That's your gadgets and gizmos number one.
Yep.
I think
number two is like your probe. Like
I was gonna say probe or cutting board.
Cutting, yeah, you can get away with.
But it doesn't have to be just have a cutting board.
Yeah, a cutting board, knife, and so like I've honestly been going. Ace carries a brand. I think it's called Marlin. It's a blue package, white plastic handle.
I've seen those.
Knives, and I've just been buying those.
Or Victoria Knox is another one.
Yeah,
that's not real expensive.
Yep. But I like those the plastic handled ones. They have a variety of different sizes there, so you can get some. So you can get like 3 or 4 knives.
Get a slicer. Get a brisket slicer because it doesn't work just for brisket. It works for other stuff too.
Yep.
But those little ridges help you kind of get like some airflow in between, so when you're slicing.
Yep. So it doesn't pull it apart. It actually cuts it.
Yeah. And I always say get that, and then get like a fillet knife, a knife that's bendy.
Yep.
You need like a blade that's bendy, so you can.
And then I like, they call it a breaking knife, but it's like a 8 to 10 inch thicker knife. So it's not like a chef's knife. It doesn't come to a point. It comes like a curved edge. I want to say something like a scimitar, but not quite like that.
I think I might have one of those.
But it's thicker duty. So when you're looking at hogging stuff off, so that's what I use to hog off the majority of a brisket, because I will like aggressively trim to get like a good shape. I like to use that. I use that for like cutting ribs apart and like cutting up chunks of stuff, because you can just cut through stuff. And then when you want to get the fine points, get like that little fillet knife that's a little bit bendy, so you can kind of twist it and you don't chunk out stuff with it.
That's why if you want to trim, when you start trimming like that silver skin or the fat off, you can kind of press that down and kind of move it around. And
yep.
And actually, another one is the cotton gloves. They can put underneath of your rubber gloves, so you can work with hot stuff.
Yep.
Because I was doing some wings on the drum, and I have those, but I was like singeing my arm hair off. And Amber's like, well, why don't you use the longer rubber ones? I was like, because they're not dexterous. Yeah, they're not very grippy. They're great if you need to like just grab something really hot.
But if I want to grab that smoldering coal.
Yeah. Cool. I actually disassembled my Traeger because it started on fire. Because I didn't clean it. I was like, oh, it'll be fine. So I actually grabbed those and I actually took it apart while it was like 400 degrees and took it apart, replaced the foil, and started it back again with those gloves.
Yeah.
The thick ones. The nitro gloves with the cotton underneath, they still get warm.
They still get warm, and the nitro will still melt.
Yeah. But still, some cotton gloves, and usually when you buy them, you get like 40 of them.
Yeah. So I don't know if I fucked up, but like I bought the Oklahoma Joe's kit some time ago that came with the cotton gloves and then a box of the nitro gloves, and I bought those. And then I was like, wait a minute, these are just fucking regular cotton gloves. So you don't have to buy that. You can get them fucking anywhere, Harbor Freight.
Yeah, you just want to make sure that they aren't like the thick, like farmer cotton gloves, because your rubber gloves won't fit over them.
Yeah. If anyone knows where we can get, or at least where I can get 3X nitro gloves, that would be fantastic. I roll with the 2X over the cotton gloves, and those are a little.
You should see where Malcolm gets his. His fucking meat hooks have to be just wide.
He just uses Magnum condom wrappers.
Probably.
It's got to be.
So there'd be, like Matt said, the probe, which I did see. So I like ThermoWorks. I know a guy who's had some issues with them, but for the most part, they're pretty accurate. I've had to replace a probe, like the actual probe itself, not the reader, the actual metal probe itself. But they are coming out with a wireless. They're out. They have a wireless one out now, which looks pretty sweet. I might look into one of those, or maybe I'll ask Santa for one.
Those are nice because they're like smaller, like they're real thin.
And I like that you can wrap a brisket and not have to take it out.
Yep.
And theirs is like, I think 1,500 feet unobstructed, but they were using it. I saw a commercial. They were using it inside a Dutch oven, closed, inside a metal offset.
Oh, and still getting.
And they still, now I don't know how far, but they said they were still getting a reading off it, which that's pretty good, because that's probably like 3/4 inch steel with all of it together. But otherwise, the ThermoWorks, they make great ones. They also, if you're looking, you have a green egg and you want to get like the fan setup, they make a billows fan that works with one of their probes to stoke your fire. I'm sure it works also with, you can get the setup for the drum smoker also.
Yep.
So I think that one's good. And then Drip Ease makes some cool cutting boards.
Those would be considered like fundamentals. Like those are things that you should have in order to like.
Yeah, good knife.
And you don't want, like, I think some of the first barbecue I did was on like a little plastic cutting board that's like maybe, a 1/16 of an inch thick. kind of plastic.
Yeah, sometimes
stuff.
It's not the thickness; it's the size overall to fit your
So
brisket.
the thickness and the overall size was just terrible. So to try to cut on it and do this stuff was like no good. So invest a little bit in that stuff, even if you don't get like a big old brisketeer, but get like a solid cutting board.
That's good
Sharp
size.
knives will make the experience so much more enjoyable.
Yes.
Than trying to cut through something with a dull, shitty knife.
Yeah.
Just
and like I said, rubber
awful.
gloves, especially if you're handling a bunch of poultry or whatever, and you don't want to cross contaminate whatever. And the cotton gloves, those are probably like some real necessities.
Mm-hmm.
But now on the cutting board side, and they're not terribly priced, that Drip Ease, which is DRIPEZ, they make cutting boards that turn into what you call a pan.
Maybe like a
It like accordions out and turns into like a container where you can season everything. And when I get a set, they have like multiple sizes of it, and those are pretty handy. And if I remember right, they're not like crazy expensive. But they came out with what they're calling a Q crib, which will hold, I think it's a full size foil pan, 2 of them. And it comes with a bamboo cutting board. And it's like, it looks like it's really thick, like styrofoam.
So it'll hold 2 of those steam pans?
I believe so.
Oh, shit.
But it says you can rest your meat in there as long as you need to. $180 also seems intriguing. Might see what Santa's got on that action also.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's if you need to hold stuff. If you don't want to use a cooler does work without any kind of problem. Cooler totes works. But if you want to
make sure you wash out the cooler afterwards. I've put that away without washing it before.
And sometimes the worst part about the cooler is the wash, because no one's sink is big enough to wash a cooler out for the most part, unless you want to hose it out outside.
The old bathtub.
Yeah. So the cooler or the Q crib is smaller, and I think it disassembles, so it doesn't take up as much space.
Yeah.
So there's that. I also looked at, and I think you talked about too, was a vacuum sealer.
I'm still really eyeballing a chamber sealer,
which is
specifically
like a high-end vacuum sealer.
Yeah. So it doesn't have. You don't put like just the one end in and like suck everything out. You put the whole bag in there, and then it just squishes it down and does magic that way. I don't quite fully understand the magic behind it, but
well, and even just like watching, like Amber and I watch a ton of like Food Network shows, but they'll do like a quick marinade, but they'll vacuum seal it to pull it into the meat faster.
Mm-hmm.
So that's intriguing. If you want to make beef jerky, that's intriguing too.
Yep.
There's a lot of stuff you can do with it. And then I haven't looked into like the different size. They make different size bags, like a 12-inch, I think, or like a 15 or something inch.
Yeah. I mean, I would guess the benefit behind a regular vacuum sealer is you can just get the roll. Like the one I have, you can get pre-cut bags, or you can get a roll, and you can make the bag kind of as long as you want.
And I think for just a generic one, it can't be more than $100, $200 for
yeah. Get the one at Costco. Was the one that we got. It was maybe $120. Comes with probably like a 100-foot roll, some extra bags, and some shit. The only thing with the one that we have is that I don't know if it's been this way since we got it, so I think it's probably just defective. But when we start the vacuum on it, you have to push down on the opening a little bit to create a tight seal, and then once the seal got, then it'll like vacuum out just fine, and it's no problem.
Do you know a gross vacuum sealer story?
Yeah.
So when we were I think we were in college.
If I said no, would you still tell it?
Probably.
Cool.
I think we were in college, and some friends of mine went down to Mexico.
Is that what you called her?
What?
The vacuum sealer?
No. No. Some friends of mine went down to Mexico and just were drunk for days. I didn't go. And my buddy, one of the buddies, like hooked up with just like random fucking chick. Like they had pictures of him hooking up. Like it was pretty. Like he was passed out. Like they were both passed out. Well, apparently he ended up with a pair of her underoos. And so my buddy vacuum sealed them for him so he could keep them. We were like at his mom's, and he just like threw them in the vacuum sealer, and he was like, here.
He couldn't have kept them without putting in the vacuum sealer.
I think he just thought it was great because, then they wouldn't lose any whatever memories, if you want to call it that.
All the memories are still there.
Yeah. Yeah, no, vacuum sealed them.
The sweat and the tequila.
Bad boys up. Gross. So those are, I think, some cool things that you can always add to your repertoire. Well, and also like, I think we've talked about getting into different smokers. Like I've been playing around with that drum smoker, green egg, start managing some fire, stuff like that. That's all down the road if you want to get in. That's a little more a little more money.
I'd add fat separator to that list.
Which is also AKA a pancake squirter.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
A fat separator is also a pancake squirter.
Yep. But I didn't think it would be all that cool.
I haven't used it yet, but
I don't make like pulled pork or I don't make a lot of that stuff. The handful of times I have done it, it's been fantastic because you smoke it like normal, but then you put it in your half pan, cover it and let it go. And like you have all these juices and you have all this fat and stuff in there, but you want to keep a lot of that juice. And so rather than just like pulling it apart and throwing it back in there, you dump all this stuff into your pancake squirter, let it sit now the trick is you do have to let it sit for a while. So 20,
but don't let it harden up yet.
Yep. And the fat floats to the top. And so all the juice stays at the bottom. And then you can squeeze the handle and all the juice comes out of the bottom. You can add all the juice back to your pulled pork along with the seasoning and the goodness, but then the fat will stay up in the separator. So like when you go to put it in the fridge, you don't pull it out and it's just like a coagulated mass of stuff.
And do not pour the fat down your sink.
Correct.
Yes. Pour it in the trash.
You can pour it down your neighbor's sink, but not yours.
Yes. Pour it in the trash.
Yes.
Matt had talked about like a kind of a curing setup, which doesn't have to be a financial investment if you have another refrigerator.
Yep.
From the guys I've ever talked to with it, we have the guys who are the bacon buddies, they do bacon and like cure it, but they'd have like a separate refrigerator because you don't want to constantly have something that's open and closed all the time.
Yeah. I don't know. I've only looked into it a little bit, but like I looked into like a smokehouse. They're not that hard. You do have to manage fire, which I don't know if I'm totally on board with that.
I don't know how much though.
It shouldn't be that much. But in the smokehouse, the one that I saw that I really liked, it had essentially two smokers hooked to it. One of them was a barrel hooked directly maybe a foot and a half away from the actual shed building if you want. So you could do like a hot smoke out of it, do your normal ribs, brisket, whatever you wanted to cook. You could do that in this building. And then behind that, so probably 5.5 feet away, 6 feet away, was a smaller, he made it into the ground, like a little concrete box for a smoker that then had a tube that went from there into the bottom of the smokehouse and up for cold smoking because it would go through that tube that's not insulated. It's under the ground, so it's going to be somewhat cooler and more temperature regulated, but that helps keep your smoke cooler by the time it gets to the smokehouse. So if you cured meats and you wanted to smoke bacon, you wanted to smoke some pork, you wanted to smoke anything without actually cooking it, you could do it that way. And that's the thing that I'm really interested in is how do I cold smoke cured meats? Cheese is cool too, but like the cured meats would be the money.
I have seen where someone's taken like a pellet smoker and the chimney, and they take the top off the chimney and they put like, almost like a dryer vent on it and then run it into like a cooler box, just like cooler, and then have their cheese or whatever in there.
Oh.
Because the smoke must cool enough in the travel time. But I guess another cheap gadget, gizmo, I'm going to call it, is for cold smoking is the, why did I just lose it? You have one of them. Amazing tubes.
Amazing tubes. Yep.
You throw some pellets in there, you light the shit on fire. But I will say, if you have a newer, at least in the Traeger world, if you have a newer Traeger, you have to prop the lid open a little bit. Otherwise, it'll snuff the fire out because it must seal up enough in there. So I have one of those wood grate scrapers. I just put that in there and shut the lid so it's got a little bit of airflow.
Yeah.
And you have to.
Some of them they have like a cold smoke setting where a fan will just blow without actually the pellets cooking.
Yeah. And the other thing is you don't want to do it when I think it's over like 90 degrees outside.
80, from the little bit I've been speed reading this week is 86 degrees is the temperature for meats in particular.
Yeah. You don't want it to be hotter than that. Otherwise you're not. And I mean, I've cold smoked Velveeta. I've cold smoked all the different kinds of fucking I just go to Hy-Vee and we buy blocks of cheese.
Yeah, get the block of cheese, put it in there. And
it's super good. But actually, a friend of mine got me a barrel. It's like this 18-inch by whatever barrel. Mm-hmm. And it's got the little lid thing you can put on like an old-fashioned to smoke it. But you can put it on top of the barrel and you can actually cold smoke like multiple drinks, or you can smoke multiple drinks or cold smoke meat in there.
Oh.
I haven't tried it yet, though, because it's been hot as fuck outside. But yeah, that's also a thing. But yeah, the Amazing tubes are they make a tube, a short tube, a long tube, and they make like a maze so you can go longer. You can also do that like if you want to cold smoke salmon, or if you're smoking something and you want to add more smoke to it, you can put it in the smoker with it.
Yep, I did that before I got the Timberline and the Pro 34. I actually have 2 of those amazing tubes, and I would put mesquite in there because it's like super smoky.
Yep.
But that would help get extra smoke up front in something that I was so like when I did brisket on that, I wanted a really heavy smoke flavor. So I'd put those a couple amazing tubes in there to get going first, run it as low as I could. And then after those went out, then turn up to like a cooking temperature.
Yeah. And those are, like I said, those aren't bad priced at all.
Mm-mm. And like you said, you can get so the 3 that I've seen are the tube that does pellets. There's the maze that'll do chips. And then there's
or pellets.
And then there's like a square one that I saw that will do like small chunks.
And I would, if you're going to light it, just get like if you have a butane torch, just use that to light it because the lighter takes for fucking ever. Then you're going to get pissed because you're going to go out there and it's going to be out.
Yep.
So yeah. And like if you're smoking cheese, it's only like, is it an hour and a half?
I don't think it's that
I think
long.
cheese is like maybe 90 minutes. And then if you have a vacuum sealer or you don't, if you're going to cold smoke stuff like that, put it in a baggie and leave it in the fridge for like another day. Really get the baggie as tight as you can. Mm-hmm. And let it sit in that baggie, and the smoke will permeate in.
Yep, it goes deeper rather than like just laying on the surface and then kind of evaporating.
Yeah. But you can cold smoke all kinds of shit. I think I've told that story before. Guy used to own a barbecue restaurant. He used to cold smoke salt. So if he wanted something smoky, he just put that salt on his food.
Good.
You can do. I've seen people do like cold smoked ketchup.
I bet you could. How cold would you have to smoke salt? I don't think it has a very low melting point.
No, and he might have just smoked it.
Yeah,
but
maybe
that girl that was telling me
it changes a little bit.
Because I went to get a haircut at like Sports Clips, and the girl was like telling me her dad used to have a barbecue place.
So, was she a thick girl?
No, which you think she would?
Right, that's what I would figure. Like, coming from a barbecue place.
I always just kind of called that place Crackhead Roulette because you just never knew.
Never know.
Yeah. You got any other gadgets, gizmos, and whatnots that you're?
No, those are
another good one. My sister got it for me. And it's a dog food. They call them a vault.
Oh, yeah.
They're pretty much weatherproof. They're pretty thick. They are phenomenal for keeping pellets in. And you can fit I had I think 40 pounds in mine.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And then she just got me like a big scooper thing with it.
Yep.
But that thing it just sits outside. I leave my pellets outside. It doesn't let any moisture in.
Yep.
So you don't have to worry about the humidity and all that other shit. Yeah, I don't know how much they are. She got it for me for Christmas at one point. But pretty fucking handy. I know Traeger makes their boxes. I don't think their boxes hold 40 though.
No, they hold a bag.
Yeah. Yeah, so those little pet vault. Mine's like a little angled one. Just fucking, yeah. That thing works great too. Yeah. I wouldn't mind. I thought about getting one for like lump charcoal, but I'm not sure.
I would convert to one of those if that Timberline didn't have the dump system that it does for the pellets where like you just slide the Traeger container under there, pull the chute, and it just falls straight down.
Go straight down. It might fit into that. It might fall.
No, because it's only this wide.
Oh, yeah.
Because it fits those little containers in sideways like that.
Oh, that's how they work that gimmick.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah, that's another good one if you're out at the pet store.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's just trying to look like when I pull open in the kitchen in our island, there's a one of those big obnoxiously wide drawers.
Yep.
And like that just has all my little barbecue tools and things and stuff in there.
I've seen people use tenderizers, like the little, not the hammer ones, but the little push pin tenderizers to push seasoning in. I've seen that done before.
Yep, I have that. I've used it on steak for a long time, but then it was kind of like meh. I have like the Polar, like the little claws, the Wolverine claws. Are good. Like those.
I think if you are going to get into like a green egg or like a drum, green egg, I'm sure there's other people. Green egg makes like extra long tongs. Not a bad pickup.
So you don't scorch your flesh.
And fucking melt your fingernails off trying to turn stuff. Yeah, there's that.
Not necessarily a barbecuing thing, but I guess kind of a grilling thing. For turning steaks, I have
You got the hook?
A hook. It's just like that little tiny hook, and you just grab them, flip them over.
Yeah, a lot of times I use another one, an Insta-Read. Insta-Read probe is pretty handy.
Oh, yeah, I guess that's what I was thinking in the front end. Like, get Insta-Read if you don't have the other probes. Like, at least an Insta-Read.
Get a thermal pen.
Check stuff.
From ThermalWorks stuff. That thing's never wrong.
It's true.
Get that one. You don't want your shit to be wrong.
It's true.
But yeah, because I'll use my probe to flip chicken.
Yeah.
Just stab it and flip it that way. But yeah, that's also like super handy. Like I said, and like I bought a Milwaukee battery powered vacuum. You don't have to, but having like maybe a separate shop vac, like a little one to clean your smokers out with, because they kind of make a mess.
Yeah. And especially like it's good to vacuum out more frequently than not, just because like that's the number one cause for.
And all that gross stuff on the foil will make your meat taste funny.
Yes, like
if you don't clean
out
it,
and yeah,
and just get foil. Don't buy the fucking like Traeger makes those aluminum foil tray looking things.
They gave me some when I bought, because apparently I buy too much from Northwest Feed and Grain, that they gave me some of those things, and I was like, oh cool, like name brand shit. No, they're not the right size. Like they fit funky. They just don't cover the whole way.
Costco makes like the extra wide foil. I think Reynolds makes the extra wide foil. Just use that shit. But if you do have a Traeger with a bucket system, use the bucket. I've tried making like a foil bucket before. It's just buy the buckets. Totes worth it.
Buy the little bucket to put in there, and
because I never used to, and then you have to clean the metal bucket out.
Yeah,
not worth it. But yeah, I was thinking that's probably my main go-tos. I have a little knife, like not really a sharpener, but it kind of trues it up. I have one of those little F-dick ones that has the two fingers that you drag the blade through.
Yep, I've got one of those, and then a honing stone or honing rod, whatever they're called.
Yeah, and just because it's starting to get cold out doesn't mean you need to stop cooking.
Right, now's the time of year. Like I'll grill way more now than I will in the summer.
Oh, well, I sat outside last weekend as the Cowboys were just getting fucking destroyed, and just stared at my drum smoker to see, like, make sure the temperature was staying the same. And Amber's like, "Are you going to watch the game?" I go, "Well, they don't seem to care to play. Why should I care to watch them?"
Although now, with our deck being done and having all the cooking stuff up top now, using the fuck out of that that flat rock.
I know. I started using that. I need to
all the time.
I need to start using that guy some
more.
And
it's I feel like it's just because it bothers me, I need to take it out and like scrub it and clean it. But like around the edge on the outside, it's like rusting a little bit. The actual cook surface, totally fine. Like seasoned, nothing sticks to it. I get that. Like that part's fine, but just the other parts have some rust on them. But
the other thing, one more thing to do is pick up. I just buy the Traeger one. I'm sure other companies make it, but it's easy because they usually have it. Is their degreaser, because it's like it's non-toxic, it's natural. So if it's you don't have to worry about it like getting on your food because it doesn't really matter. But wiping your Traeger out so it doesn't start on fire. Using it clean up around I cleaned the little shelves off on the flat rock. I cleaned them off on, and I was making some tallow the other day and I spilled fucking grease everywhere and I just used that to wipe it, like clean my table at the end.
Yeah. Speaking of cleaning stuff, that and like a jumbo pack of like the little Scotch-Brite sponge pad things that are the green and yellow.
Yep.
Like, use those. I'll just, if I'm going to clean out especially the Timberline, clean that one. I use one on the front at like the beginning to like get all the main chunks and all that shit, throw it away, get another one, go through, get the actual cleaning done, throw that one away, spray down paper towels to clean out the rest of the way. Way better than trying to use like paper towels or like a bigger sponge that I have to try to rinse out and then come back. Like when it gets filthy and gross, fucking throw it away because you buy a 20 pack for like $5.
Yeah. And the other one, buy good pellets. If you're going to do it, spend the money on some good pellets. Whether it's Lumberjack. And actually, if you go back and listen to the one with Ron from Helping You Barbecue, he lists off like fucking 3-4 different good brands.
There's a bunch of them. Lumberjack, I'd have a lot of experience with Lumberjack and Traeger kind of like side by side just because that's what Northwest carries, are those two brands. Mm-hmm. And so I bought Traeger hickory and I bought Lumberjack hickory, very like the same ribs, seasoned, cooked them the same and stuff like that. Lumberjack turned out better. Lumberjack cleaned up better, a better cook. Lumberjack over Traeger, like that's really only side by side. And then I really like Naughty Wood. They're more expensive, but it gives a different flavor because they use plum and almond, and now they have a plummoned where they have the two mixed together, and they're trying some different stuff with them. But if anyone's interested in going through a lot of them, Home Depot sells them by the pallet, and so I'll go like halvesies or split a pallet with some people.
For the Lumberjacks or for the Naughty Wood?
For the Naughty Wood.
Oh.
Yeah.
And the other thing too is kind of as you're going along in your little barbecue journey, like start to hone in on a pellet because you can try, but you end up going to just, instead of having 47 different flavors and changing them all the time.
I've done that.
Yeah.
At one time I had 9 different pellets
Just get one like I did mesquite for a little bit. I went to hickory, then I went to cherry, and I'm back just basically hickory.
Yep.
99% of the time.
Get a heavy smoke one, a light smoke one, and then like a sweet. So some kind of like a fruit wood blend, apple, cherry, something like that. Like your mid of the road. Hickory is a really good one, or one of the hickory competition ones that's like hickory maple or something. And then for your heavy, again, you can get something a little darker. If you go lumberjack makes 100% oak, which is really cool because it uses 100% of the oak log, including the legendary post oak size. They actually grind some of those up too to put in there. Or obviously mesquite is way out there if you want.
Yeah, I just ride the hickory train 90% of the time.
But I mean, hickory's phenomenal, and like I think that's great. I really like pecan on birds.
Yeah,
I think that gives it a good kind of sweetness to it. Naughty Wood is supposed to be. It says they're coming out with a sweet wine infused plum pellet, which I think will be really sweet because the plum pellet itself is pretty sweet, but it's also a really dark smoke. So like I like plum on brisket because it gives it a really, really dark, like good smoke color to it, a lot of bark, but it has this kind of unique sweetness to it from the wood.
That's cool.
It makes it kind of interesting.
So yeah, get your woods figured out. But yeah, just those are a
I'm
few.
hungry now. I just want to like make all the barbecue in the world.
Those are some of the gadgets, gizmos that are a couple of new ones, some ones we think are cool. But yeah, it's the perfect time to keep grilling.
The other thing I would add, only because it bites me in the ass every time I go to cook, is like write down what you did.
Yes.
Either follow the recipe exactly and know that you followed it, or if you change it, like write down what you did. Because more often than not, I change it up because I don't have something, or I'm running out of time, or I accidentally put it at the wrong temperature, or something happened, and it's either really good or it's really bad, and I don't remember exactly what the difference was by the time I go to cook it again. And I'm like, well, fuck.
And the valuable lesson I learned is the first few times you use a smoker, don't leave. Don't leave, because you don't know how that smoker works.
You don't want to rage an inferno.
Even if it's a pellet, it might start on fire.
Yeah.
I left my drum, thought I fucking knew what I was doing, and that drum was 100 degrees hotter than I wanted it to be when I got back. So yeah. But yeah, those are just a few for our fall tips, tricks, gizmos, gadgets, whatever. We don't get paid by any of these people. We just think they're good things. The guys at Helping You Barbecue have a lot of these things out there too. Yeah. So if you're in the Omaha area, check them out. But we just want to give you some tips to be a little less shitty every day. Make good barbecue. If you like what we're doing, like, subscribe, share, follow, tell people. Even if you don't like us, it's fine. You don't have to. Most people don't.
Yeah, that's fine. But I haven't told anyone.
Yeah. But other than that, we appreciate listening, and we'll see you next time.